He has a few little issues.
Okay. And then you did training before.
I did like a 6 or 8 week like basic training course, you know, working on like sitting, lie down, you know, kind of things like that. He's just like really like high energy. And so like walking on the leash, he's like really apt to pull.
Yeah.
I mean, he's real strong. So like when he like goes to my parents' house, like I'm worried he's gonna like pull them over.
For sure.
You know, he'll like barge out the door, like just kind of want to work on things like that.
Okay. How old is he?
He's rescue, so not sure, but we think he's 1.5.
1.5. How long have you had him for?
I got him at the very end of November. So like, what is that? Like 8, 9 months?
Okay, so you got him when he was
One, like early one, they thought.
Okay, I got you. So he was already about this big.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
He hasn't gotten any
So
bigger.
he was already past one for sure.
Yeah.
With the reactivity stuff, what have you tried?
Treat-based stuff.
Okay.
So like with the first trainer, she kind of gave me some advice for like on walks to catch him when he is walking at my side and like give him treats for that.
Okay.
So I've tried that, and I just kind of like working on like basic obedience stuff, like, you know, sitting, lying down, and hoping that will like translate.
Okay.
But like kind of a lot of the stuff she recommended, like when people come by, like just give him like a ton of treats. Like I don't always have like
Treats.
a million treats with me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What's the issue with people? Is like people coming over?
With people coming over, he will jump on them and
Okay.
he will nip at them.
Okay.
He gets overly excited with guests.
Yeah.
And so he will like nip and kind of like play aggressively.
Okay.
Unless I like, you know, distract him with toys or something, and he'll jump on people. And then on walks, like certain people, most people that he wants to meet or dogs, he will like go towards them.
Okay.
He won't necessarily jump up.
Okay.
But you know, when I don't know them,
For sure.
it's not okay.
Does he have any dog friends?
He has some.
Okay.
At daycare, this is another issue. At daycare, he's in solo play only.
Okay.
Because he sometimes is too much with the other dogs and doesn't understand their cues when they don't want to play back. So like when I've taken him to my friends' houses or like the occasional dog park, what I see goes great. But they said dogs will be like lying down and chilling, and he'll be like, let's play, and then they'll get mad at him.
I gotcha.
So he loves other dogs, but he doesn't get their cues when they don't want to play.
Yeah, he doesn't have self-control or
No.
impulse control.
No.
I gotcha. Okay. What neighborhood are you from?
Westtown.
Westtown? Okay.
I live near Ashland and Division.
How'd you hear about us?
Googling.
Googling? Okay. Anything else about Mr. Tobias here?
When he gets, I have a video of it, when he gets into these like moods where I'm sure he just wants to play, the tail is going, but he will bark really loud and like really aggressively. And he gets so into it, like his little mouth is going, like I feel like he could bite me if, you know, he's just he gets super amped, and sometimes it'll happen multiple times a day. If he was like crated a lot the day before, he just gets like really hyper. And I've been trying a bunch of different strategies, like putting him away, turning my back to him, distracting him, and like sometimes things work and sometimes it doesn't, but it's like, it sounds scary.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. He's an interesting looking guy.
I know.
It's an old picture, but it was like one of those meme pictures where it was like it was a pit dachshund mix. So it had the long body, but it had the pit bull head, but then they also cropped its ears, so it's like this goofy, weenie looking pit bull dog. So he kind of reminds me of it, just bigger.
Yeah, he's an unusual shape.
Okay, so anything else I should know?
It's mostly just like, yeah, he's just gets high energy at times, and like on walks I'm like, you know, always pulling him away, and like, yeah, I think those are the main things.
Before booking, did you look into how we train, the methods that we use?
No, I wanted to kind of hear from y'all when I met you all.
So I'm a remote collar trainer.
Okay.
I use e-collar.
Okay.
I'll explain everything and all that stuff. All dogs that I train over the age of 6 months are on an e-collar.
Okay.
Okay. The reason why I use remote collar is, one, off the bat, you get off-leash control. It's the only tool, in my opinion, that guarantees off-leash control, because on or off-leash, I have communication with the dog through the press of a button. Okay. Every other tool, whether it's a prong collar, a slip chain, a gentle leader, a no-pull harness, training harness, any other tool is going to require a leash. Okay, whether it's a long leash or a short leash. The moment you unclip the leash, if the dog decides, I don't want to, there's no means of making it happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The other thing is, some tools are known as correctional tools, and there's tools that are just kind of there to help you train your dog. So like a prong collar, that's the spiky looking one. Have you seen that? Do you know why it looks like that? It's meant to mimic a dog bite.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's teeth.
Okay.
But to the, how'd you say, like unknowing dog owner, you see that and you go like, that looks barbaric.
Yeah.
Right? I used to work for a big box pet store. I used to be positive only 15 years ago, and I was one of those people. And then I educated myself. I'm like, oh, that's meant to mimic a dog bite because dogs correct each other by nipping and biting, right? So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then from there, like I grew and educated myself, all that stuff. And I use like every tool that there is, as long as I feel like it's gonna work. But the end tool for me is always gonna be a remote collar.
Okay.
So like puppies under 6 months, we do gentle eater. That's the one that goes around the muzzle. There's a little thing here that you clip to, kind of like a horse bridle. It allows us to control the head. So for puppies under 6 months, I tell people it's kindergarten stuff. This is what we're gonna do for now. And then if you want more advanced or reliable training in the future, then we're gonna go to big boy, big girl training. Okay. The reason why there are correctional tools is because sometimes our dogs do things that we disagree with, right? So like, let's say he's in play. He's barking at a dog, similar to like you said he would be barking at you, right? And that dog goes, leave me alone, right? They might growl, they might show teeth, but if he continues, what do you think that dog may do next?
Bite him.
Bite him, right? So we're gonna do a nipper bite and they're gonna say, don't do that to me, right? So now we have a conversation. So he's going, engage with me. The other dog goes, leave me alone. Here's a correction. And then he has a decision and whether he goes, I'm gonna accept that correction and I'm gonna leave you alone, or I'm gonna contest that correction and I'm gonna correct you for correcting me. Okay?
Totally.
And that's a different conversation.
Totally.
Right? So like a lot of times with puppies, people will note they'll scold their puppies and then their puppies will like show their teeth and growl and then even nip at them. And they think that they're being aggressive. I go, no, your puppy is simply correcting you for correcting them. It starts very young, but people don't understand that.
Sure.
Okay? So prong collar and remote collar are I would say the more popular tools that I know for corrections. Because one, the prong collar meant to mimic a dog bite. So if I pop the collar, it creates a quick little biting sensation.
Okay.
So if he's acting out and I do that, I now correct him, and then he goes, okay, you're disagreeing with what I'm doing, so I'm gonna stop, or I'm gonna
or I'm not.
whatever. Exactly. So now we, again, conversation. Remote collar, very similar. Have you ever been to a chiropractor or physical therapist?
No.
Have you ever seen those videos on YouTube where they recreate labor contraction pains in men?
Yeah.
Okay. That machine is like is what's known as like a TENS unit.
Yeah.
TENS unit. To cause muscle contractions to mimic that of labor contractions, right? Obviously, labor contractions are very intense. I know because my wife gave birth a month and a half ago, and I saw them in action, okay? So they can be very uncomfortable. So that machine is operating on a higher level to create the intensity of the muscle contraction. That is the same technology as the e-collar, okay? It's a muscle stimulator. People and on the internet, in the dog training world, there's a lot of drama, if you're not aware. Okay? There's trainers like myself who use positive reinforcement, which is something good, and positive punishment, which is something bad. Okay. Then there's positive only, which is there are some schools of thought that you can't even tell your dog no. Okay. I had a client get kicked out of a class because her puppy jumped on her, and instinctively she said no, and they just booted her.
Oof.
Okay. Yes, it's kind of cultish in some degrees. So I use everything. Okay. They'll use terms like shock or torture or pain because it's meant to deter you from using these tools or seeking trainers like myself that use these tools, right? Because no one wants to electrocute their dog, no one wants to shock their dog. I think that if that was actually the technology, that we wouldn't have access to them, right? It's a muscle stimulator, okay? And with the one that we use, we have 127 respective levels of stimulation, okay? From super subtle to very intense, okay? In breaks of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 127. Back in the day, collars had like 5 or 10 levels. Think of 10 and 127 as the same. I just have 117 more divisions now. Okay, so it's much more refined. Okay. So in the past, from 3 to 4 is a significant. Okay. Okay. So that's why we use this brand, the brands that we use, Dogtra. There are other models that have like 20, some that'll have like 40. There's some that have 21, low, medium, high, like all different types. I just use, the system that we use is continuous, it's streamlined. So we're not having to like change settings while we're trying to actively use the tool. Okay. So if I need to go 10 to 50, I just go 10 to 50. Whereas other collars, you have to go from low, and then you switch it to medium, and then you have to adjust, and you go from medium to high, like all these little thingies, okay? So I like to describe the e-collar as a bite on the button, okay? Is once we condition it, the dog will recognize it or understand it similar as a dog bite, right? That's a line of communication. When we see these tools or we hear these tools, people typically think punishment. Oh, my dog's gonna be bad, I'm just gonna blast them, right? Oh.
Ooh.
Is he good with dogs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except for the thing I told you, how like
Yeah.
he wants to play.
Yeah. So I can see the tension.
Yeah, that's constant.
Yeah. But that's impulse control. So I'll talk about that. So like right there, right, this happens.
Yeah.
Let's say he did act aggressively. Do you think he's aggressive, or do you think he's telling the dog, hey, I don't know you, get out of my space?
Tobias acting aggressively?
As an example, when that dog came, let's say Tobias,
oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, nipped at him. Would you think that's aggression, or would you think that's him saying, hey, I don't know you, back off?
Probably the latter, but I
Yes.
guess you don't know.
No, it's the latter.
Okay. I will say there's one time, I've never seen him be aggressive to another dog until a few weeks ago. My next neighbor dog is often outside and barks at him when he comes outside, you know, checking his space, whatever. So they finally met in person, and my dog's like lashed out at him, like he kind of snarled at him. And it did seem aggressive. And he's never been like that to anyone else, and I feel like it was because he's like, you bark at me every day. You know?
How do you feel about that?
Oh, I feel real bad.
Have you ever been angry in your life?
Never.
Have you ever like been in a bad mood and you just kind of like pop off at somebody?
Of course.
Yeah. Right. So it's the same thing for dogs. When it comes to labeling a dog as quote unquote aggressive, those dogs are super rare. They're dogs that are quote unquote aggressive for like no reason, or they're aggressive for like every single thing. Okay. I have to see, we read things by context, right? So that's why I asked that question. I was like, with that dog approaching, had he acted out, I wouldn't take it against Tobias. I go, that dog,
you're in my space.
Right? So imagine if like a person just came up and was like that to you. And
Totally.
But as a human, because we're taught that fighting or confrontation is bad, so to speak, right? We typically avoid. You take a step back. Oh, do I know you? Right? You do all these other things unless that person continues to pursue, and then you might think, I think I have to protect myself now, and then you get physical, right? But there's a delay. Dogs are more likely to kick into an aggressive response because in his world, he doesn't understand that there's 911, right? That we can call, and then a third party is going to come and help us. He doesn't understand that we're at the park and we share the space with other dog owners and other people, and that dog just happened to get away from the owner, right? Like he doesn't understand that stuff. So as a dog, he's primal. So if he sees an off-leash dog, he's like, I don't know if you're friend or foe. I'm going to assume the latter because if you are a foe and I delay, my life's at risk.
Totally.
That's primal.
That makes sense.
Okay. So once you start to see the world through your dog's quote unquote eyes, or as my business is called, the canine perspective, you start to understand and you see things differently. Okay. Because I've had clients where their dog bit someone. I'll assess everything and I'll tell them, you know, your dog was protecting the home or something. It sucks that it was your friend. But if it was a burglar, we probably wouldn't even be here right now. Right. And then the light clicks and they're like, oh, that is completely true. Right? So, but yeah, that was just a quick little tangent there. So the e-collar is referred to as a bite on the button, and we can use this so-called bite on the button to condition training, sit, stay, down, come, play, seal, and then also to correct things we don't like. Okay, so like let's say he's playing with the dog, he's becoming too intense, and I need to bring that intensity down. I can use the collar, so he'll go from being like this, and then he'll become more calm, and then his energy will be lower. Okay, or if I see a dog he wants to engage with, but that dog is giving signs of I'm done, I can correct him with the collar to pull him off of the dog, and then he's going to go, okay, you're no longer an option, so I'm going to channel my energy over here. Or maybe I'm also going to lay down because everybody else is laying down, right? Now he's going to read the room, so to speak.
Totally.
Okay. So at my facility in the West Loop, or near the West Loop, we have 50 to 60 dogs on average a day, and it's quiet.
Wow.
Dogs are playing, dogs are doing treadmill, dogs are doing what we call duration work, where they lay on their dog beds and dogs are being trained. They see the dogs on treadmills, they see the dogs playing, right? There's all this activity, but you would walk in and go, are there even dogs here?
Wow.
Okay, because it's quiet. And it's not that they're not vocalizing when they're playing, we only allow them to go to a 4, okay? Because anything 5 and above tends to lead to fights, okay? So we keep them to a 4, so you'll see them playing, they're just quiet.
Wow.
There might be a little bit of growling, a little bit of like barking or whatever, but it's very controlled,
Okay.
okay? And that's just the routine, structure, and discipline, okay? And not all the dogs that we have that come to us are trained by us. A chunk of them are, but we get dogs that aren't trained by us, but they come in, and because of the setting and the routine, they just kind of fall right into line.
Wow.
Okay? And it sounds complicated, but it's not.
Okay.
It's very simple. Okay? Questions on any of that stuff?
No.
So the first thing that we always teach is leash walking, which is the heel. Leash reactivity and leash pulling are the 2 most common things that I deal with. Okay? So heel addresses both of those things right off the bat. Okay? A lot of trainers either will avoid heel, not teach heel, or they'll teach at the very, very end. Okay, which doesn't make sense to me, because heel is like the one thing everybody wants to do. Everybody wants to walk their dog without pulling, right? Ideally.
Yeah.
So when clients ask me, like, I don't get it, like, my last program, it was a 9-class program, we never covered heel. I'm like, they didn't know how to teach it, right? And I mean, teach it in a way where you can go out into the world and apply it, and it's gonna be functional. Okay, that's what.
Right, that's the point.
About. Yes. So, heel is important, 1, because everybody wants to cover it. 2, it allows us to layer in the collar in a non-confrontational manner, okay, which is walking with our dog. Most people in the city of Chicago walk their dogs 3 times a day, 7 days a week. So that's 3 times a day, 7 days a week. We get to practice this behavior, right? In some cases, the dog might become stressed because of the collar. The e-collar is a stressor because it's a disciplinary tool. And people tend to think, oh, my dog is under stress, I'm going to do less of the thing. And it's the opposite. You have to do more of the thing, okay? So like, if we take someone who's an EMT, for example, first day on the job, I'm sure, is not easy. I'm sure they see a lot of crazy stuff, right? But then they go day in and day out, day in and day out, and they go back and they go back and back. And eventually it's just a day in the office, right? For me, I deal with aggression all the time. So when I see aggression, I'm just like, this, right? And the owner's like, all right? And they're like, how are you so calm? I'm like, I've done this for 15 years. Like, this is nothing new to me, right? So they get desensitized and or accustomed to the collar, and they go like, okay, I know what this is. It's a line of communication. If I follow the rules, it won't turn on. If I don't become a brat, it doesn't turn on. If I don't bark at a dog's face, it doesn't turn on. Like, the dog learns how to avoid it. And that's what we want them to understand, okay, is that technically he's in control of the collar. If I'm at a 15 out of 127 and he's super obedient and his behavior is great when he plays and all that stuff, then I'm at 15, right? But I also get dogs where I'm at 85, or I even had dogs where I'm at 127, which is max power. And this year I've had like 3 or 4 dogs that were as low as 2 to 3.
Wow.
Right? Every case is different.
Yeah.
I help you figure all that stuff out.
Yeah.
Okay. But his size, his breed, his age, his temperament, none of that stuff matters. What matters at the end of the day is how does he perceive the collar.
Okay.
And then we just work on it. Okay. So first 2 classes are on heel. First class, if you move forward training, this is typically where I meet. If you see where these 2 benches are right here, just where this path is, right?
Yeah.
That's typically where you'll find me.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So I like to train here during the summertime or when the weather is permitting. This is a quiet day at Oz. Yesterday, funny enough, because it was raining, it was busy.
Oh, that's funny.
It was funny. It was like super
It kept
busy.
doing that like sunny rain, right? Where like you don't even expect it.
Yeah,
We got caught in
it.
it.
Down super hard.
Yeah.
Like, it was time to go. But yeah, so we train here. We're in the environment. So when I get clients, they have like dogs that are leash reactive. They like it because they're in life.
Totally.
Right? And they're seeing everything work real time in a realistic environment.
Yeah.
I get clients who are like, oh, I'm from the suburbs. It's super calm. So if my dog can do it here, then the suburbs should be easy peasy.
Yeah.
And they go, yeah, theoretically, that is true. So we teach here. Let's say he became reactive during the class. I walk you through it. Okay. I don't have to touch the dog. You do all the work. Okay, so you just show up with your dog, your leash, your training tool, and I walk you through everything. It's all hands-on for you. 99.9% of the time, you're doing all the work. 0.01% of the time, I might go, let me show you something, and then give it right back. Okay. Reason for that is previously I used to train the dog in front of you to give you visual, and then go, here you go, and then I would walk you through it. But sometimes the dogs would be resistant, and I would work the dog through it. So then if the dog was resistant with the owner, they wouldn't know how to do it because they didn't do it.
Sure.
Okay, they didn't get the experience of it. Or the dog would learn, oh, Jesse's here, so I'm gonna behave, because I had made I would say a relationship with the dog by working with them. So now the owner's like, when you're here, the dog's great.
Totally.
Right. So by removing myself from the training as a handler, it's been a lot more consistent about the owners obtaining the success in their dog's behavior and obedience without it really ever being tied to me. Okay. So first 2 classes are on heel. We come the first week, I teach you, give you your homework, you come back the next week, you give me feedback.
Okay.
Okay. You would be surprised, a lot of the behaviors that you're describing, like within the home and stuff, will tend to go away on their own. Okay, because of structure and discipline. Right now, Tobias is in his own world.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like he's sniffing, he's laying over here, you're like, leave it, come back. He's like, all right, what about this, right?
Yep.
That's part of the problem.
Yep.
Okay. Is if I had...
It's Tobias's world.
It's Tobias's world. If I had my pit, her default when I'm not doing anything is just lay down and go to sleep. She just goes into a resting state. Unless I give her the release cue of break, and break means now you can go and be a dog, chase squirrels, do whatever you want. She has that kind of what I would call an on and off switch. Okay. Okay. So a lot of times, class 1, we do the training.
Leave it. Leave it. He loves sticks. Leave it. All done, buddy.
The client comes back class 2, and they're standing like this, and the dog is laying at their side.
Crazy.
Okay. But it's because of discipline. It's because of structure.
Yeah.
Okay. If the dog doesn't have the ability to turn off, they get stuck in what we call overstimulation, which is the inability for the brain to relax, and that causes frustration. So like the barking you mentioned earlier is what I would call demand barking, right? And if his needs aren't being met or he can't turn that off, now you get frustration, which can escalate to nipping, right? So that's where you're like, oh, like, you know, it looks aggressive sometimes, or it's making me uncomfortable with the intensity.
Yes.
It's because since he can't turn off and he doesn't have anything that's gonna, I don't want to say redirect, but like stop the brain, right? Like, hey, just chill. It gets frustrated. Same thing happens with kids.
Leave it, bud.
I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you know, the kids start getting fussy or like misbehaving due to frustration because they couldn't sleep." Okay, so I was like, "That's very interesting because I see the same thing with dogs." Okay, so we see, what does the heel exercise fix? Okay, you're my feedback. So we have class 1, come back class 2. Feedback, okay, you might say his reactivity is 80% better, 0% better, 30% better, whatever. That tells me what I need to do for class 2. Okay. Class 2 is the second half of heel, but I'm gonna make tweaks according to what you've told me. Then you go off, rinse and repeat again. Okay. Come back class 3, you give me more feedback. Okay. If it's what I assume, which I think a lot of the stuff is just frustration-based behavior, it's gonna just start going away on its own. Okay. If it doesn't go away on its own, no big deal. And you might get like, you'll see like, oh, this is so much better, but he's still got like 20% or 30% of what he was before. I go, no big deal. This is how we address it now. Okay, because we've layered the foundation. So for example, one thing that wouldn't be impacted is his play. That's a separate context. That's interaction, right? But if it's like the demand barking in the home or any frustration-based behaviors in the home, I would anticipate those will go away on their own. Okay. The other stuff we would have to actually work with him on. So like if you're at the dog park and you see him becoming too pushy with play or whatever, you would have to correct that because that's a separate context. Okay. So class 3 could be, this is how we address your dog's behavior, or what we would call the residual behavior that's left over. The 4th class can be recall, which is come when called. That allows you to let your dog off leash, you know, so you can come here and play with the dogs here or whatever. Go to the dog park and not have to worry about, is my dog going to come back or not. Yeah. We do place command, which I recommend for dogs like him. Place command is we tell the dog to go to their bed. They can sit, stand, lay down, chew on a bone, play with a toy. They just can't get off. The reason why that's important for dogs like him is it helps them learn to turn off. Okay. So like I had a client, we trained their German Shepherd as a puppy at 2 months. And then when he was an adult, he came back for the big boy training. And when we were talking, they're like, he never sleeps during the day. He only sleeps at night. And I said, that's not good. I was like, that's very unhealthy because dogs sleep 16 to 20 hours a day. They go, not this dog. So then we did the training. We did the place command. And I told them after today, he's going to start sleeping now. And sure enough, within the week, they sent me a picture of the dog sleeping in the kitchen. They're like, he's never done this before.
Wow.
Because we showed him how to turn off.
Buddy,
Okay? So,
you found that stick.
so the place command in that case is beneficial. A lot of clients also use it for like if they go to a restaurant and they want to bring their dog with them. That they're not like this.
Yes,
right? Like
the
you're trying
entire
to enjoy
time.
your meal. It's like this. You place him, he goes and he lays in his dog bed or whatever, and you can have that nice meal. If someone wants to pet him and you say sure, he's completely fine. He just cannot step off of the boundary of the object, okay, which makes it much more simpler to reinforce.
Yeah, I can imagine that being a good command.
Question on any of that stuff?
No.
So if you could have what you wanted with Tobias, right, like with your goals and everything, we have the reactivity stuff, right? We have his socialization stuff. There's like the demand barking, or just that the frustration behavior within the home. There's this kind of wandering stuff. The leash pulling, recall, stationary control, of course. Is there anything else you foresee yourself like also needing or wanting to accomplish with Tobias?
That seems to be everything, as long as included in that is his like jumping up on people and nipping them when they come over. Yeah,
Yes.
that's.
So people coming into the home is a separate thing.
Yeah.
I do cover it. There is a correct and incorrect way of inviting people into the home, okay? For the jumping behavior, it's simpler because let's say he jumped on a dog and they didn't like it. What do you think that dog would do?
Snarl?
Or
bite?
Bite, right? Let's say he's barking at the dog and he doesn't stop and the dog doesn't like it. What may they do?
Bite or snarl?
Right? Let's say he's doing the zoomies, right? And the other dog doesn't like it. What might they do?
Bite.
Bite, right? So addressing behavior is very simple because it's one consequence to a multitude of behaviors. You just need to understand and learn, how do I correct my dogs in all these contexts, right? When he's jumping on people, when he's being annoying to other dogs, when he's barking at me, right? How do I address it? And you go, oh, I just quote unquote bite the dog, right? If he's got the collar, and I can do it through the collar. Otherwise, if he's doing it without the collar, then we have to find an alternate means of correcting him. Okay, but yeah, it's super simple. So the jumping on people is technically covered as well.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else that you're wanting to address with Tobias?
No, I think those are all the big things.
Okay. I would most likely put you at around 6 to 9 classes.
Okay.
Okay. So we do 3, 6, 9, and 12-week classes. It's 1 day a week for an hour. It's just you and me.
Okay.
Okay. You show up, you have your dog, I work you through everything, okay? General structure of how I see this working out would be 2 on heel, 1 on behavior, 1 on recall, 1 on place, 1 in home, right? And then, so if you did 6, it's what I call like the bare bones. I'm really just kind of squeezing everything in within those 6 classes. And then the 9-week is, it gives us more time to address stuff in case like there's certain things that you're struggling with. There's more of a window or a buffer window, so to speak, right? Also, like let's say we get to class 7, everything's been addressed. We have class 8 and 9 now. If you wanted to build his training to a higher level, that's what we do with 8 and 9.
Okay.
Okay. I also get clients that
Buffer.
might bucket a pocket a class, right? Or they're like, oh, I'll see them the next year or whatever, you know, or like something unrelated, or they'll even go like especially now because it's getting later into the season, if they do like a 12-week program, they'll do like the first half of it, and then they'll practice during like the fall and the winter, and then in the spring, summer, they'll come back and they'll wrap up the program, because since they have so much time to practice, they get further along, right? So if we get to a point where it's like everything's been great, all the stuff has been addressed, and now it's like I just want more advanced control, so you can get up to off-leash reliability with everything. All 6 commands, sit, stay down, come, place, heel, can be built to an off-leash level. It's just a matter of, are you going to put in the time and effort? The only command that has to be off-leash reliable is recall. Okay, that's the common call.
Yes.
All the other ones are nice to have, but unless you're actively going to use them, it really doesn't matter, right? But recall for sure does have to be off-leash reliable. To give you an understanding of how long it could take, approximately 6 months.
Wow.
Okay, not with me, but that's you just going off and practicing. Okay, because I had a client, I trained her first dog, she came back, I trained her second dog, and she told me her first dog took about 6 months before she considered her off-leash reliable, because it's not just the dog, it's you.
Of course.
Right? I get like when we train dogs on boarding trains, they leave very well trained, but the owner is now a novice.
Yes.
Right. So the dog is an expert with the training, and the owner's a novice.
Yes.
And now they got to catch up to
Totally.
the dog, and that takes time. Okay. So 6 at minimum. 9 is a nice little buffer.
Okay.
Okay. Let's say you use 7 and there's a 2, and you're like, I'm very happy, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with 8 and 9. You can always convert it to credit, and like our dogs that we've trained are welcome to board with us at my facility. Dogs that have not trained with us are required to do 1 day of daycare, whereas dogs we have trained are not required to do 1 day of daycare. Okay. So like if you're like, okay, everything's great, I have 2 classes, I'd like to convert it to credit and like board him during Christmas or something. Like we go, sure, no problem. Okay. So you don't lose out on your investment or whatever.
Okay.
Questions on any of that stuff?
Where are you guys?
So
exactly.
my facility is west of the West Loop.
Okay.
We're by Sacramento and Lake.
Sacramento and Lake. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were you trying to do like a board and train or like a in-person program?
So all of the above. I found a place for board and train actually. I think I'm gonna go with them I have something coming up in September. But I'm kind of not happy with my current daycare situation. And like, just like you're saying, when we come back, I still might, there still might be issues. So I don't know for sure yet, but I would be interested in like any and everything, I think.
Sure. So your dog can do either or.
Okay.
Okay. Because, so the only time I tell people you have to do this yourself is when it's human aggression. Okay. Because, so one, we require the dog to be muzzle trained before they get to us. So that's one thing. The second thing is it's the owner that's going to live with the dog for the next 10 to 15 years.
Right.
So I go, you need to understand how to have a dog that's aggressive towards people. Dogs aggressive towards other dogs is easier, right? Because I don't have to worry about people.
Yeah.
People are they're like 95% of the world. Dogs are a smaller percentage, right? So that's much easier. Plus with my staff, obviously, if the dog's human aggressive and it's untrained, it's like now my staff is like, it takes time to work with them because we have to pull them out the kennel and stuff and also try not to get bit.
Yeah.
He is what I would call an easy case. Okay. This guy is super easy.
Doesn't feel like that to me, but great.
Yeah, I know. This guy is super easy to me, okay? Because when that off-leash dog came over and I was watching his behavior, I'm like, I could see some tension. He wanted to play.
He wanted to play, right?
I can see where but that tension could get him in trouble.
Totally.
If he does it to
the
wrong dog. Right? That posture and
Totally.
stuff, does it to the wrong dog, we have a problem.
Totally.
Now,
off, sir. He's bored, I think.
Yeah, that's frustration.
Okay.
So what you can do is go and bring him over.
Tobias, come.
Yep. And shorten your leash. And here, just bring him back towards you. Pull. Shorten a little bit more. And then up. And then relax. Up. And then relax. So this is frustration behavior. Right? And then relax. Right? Now you're going to bring him in again. Good. Lightly up. Wait a moment. And then relax.
Oh, I didn't wait.
Okay. So, man.
Yeah.
So when you pull up, right, I'm not bobbing, I'm not going up and down, but his body weight is going to wear out his strength, and he's going to get tired, okay? So the issue, and the moment he stops, I let go. You see that?
Yeah.
But I'm not bobbing him. So there's another dog right there. I'm not bobbing him, and just so you know, a harness empowers the pulling, and it also exacerbates leash reactivity and frustration-based behaviors, okay? So you see how he's kind of pulling against the leash there?
Yeah.
That creates what we call opposition reflex. Opposition reflex is when a dog feels pressure, they want to go against it. Okay. So if you pull back, he pulls forward. If you pull forward, he pulls back. You pull left, he pulls right. He always wants to go opposite to the tension. Okay. So here we don't recommend harnesses because it puts the leash in the the dog in power, but that's where his strength is. It's in the front of his chest. You see that? So that's why you get harnesses that have a front clip here, because it's meant to deter the pulling pressure.
Should I hook him up in there on the front? He has a front clip.
He does?
Yeah.
Is this a snap buckle here?
Yeah, there's 2 snaps on the side and then a front clip.
Okay. So here.
Oh, not on that.
Too loose.
Yeah, there's a front, yeah. You got him?
Yeah. If you want to hold him just in case, you're welcome. Trying to see how this comes up.
You got eye boogies, buddy. Look at those eye boogies.
There we go. There we go. And secure there. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Now it doesn't fix the pulling.
Yeah.
It just alleviates his pulling strength.
He has less of a...
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So here, you see how he's escalating?
Yep.
That's when I was talking about earlier. I was like, you create a conversation. And you're going...
And he's saying no to you right now.
Exactly. But if you noticed, I was neutral. I wasn't yelling at him.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting angry. I don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, for the owner, I get it because it's their dog.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, ugh.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, it's just an animal. It's like what they do. But I was riding him out, taking my time. It could take me 30 minutes with this before he finally settles. But what he learns is Jesse is not going to stop. And eventually he will get his way, and it makes it easier the next time.
Totally.
Okay? So it's easier for me to get established control over a dog because this is our first time interacting. For you, he's been with you for at least 8 months.
Yeah.
Right? So you have 8 months of an established relationship, and that's actually what you're trying to address.
Totally.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So going back to the training stuff, he could do a board and train as well. He's very easy. We can even work on the behavioral stuff in terms of socialization because he's a social guy.
Yes, he
is.
is.
So we can do that while he's there as well.
That's cool.
So what separates our board and trains from others is that you get a video for each week that we have the dog. Okay, the first week is always the longest because we're teaching everything from the ground up. So it's usually between 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
Okay. So sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. You're learning. You're seeing your dog learn in real time. Okay. So you're seeing the process. Let's say he gets stressed out and then he's like being frustrated on the leash and stuff. You see me work him through it. Okay. Because it's very important that people understand that.
Yeah.
Because once he leaves us and goes to you, he's going, oh, back with mom. Right?
Back with the easy person.
Yes. So you have to be able to ride through those things. Okay. It's 2 to 3-ish hours. That's the first week video. If we had them for 2 weeks, for example, you would get a second week video. On the second week, we're already progressing them towards the long leash to build towards off leash. It's a very quick process.
Okay.
Okay. The second week, usually around 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the dog. And it's easier and shorter because everything's already been taught. I'm just showing you this is how we start building towards off leash. Okay. If we have a dog for 3 to 4 weeks, the third week, they're on the long leash in a group of dogs if they're social. And now the training is being done in the group of dogs.
Okay.
By the fourth week, if we have a dog that long and they're social, they're completely off leash in the group of dogs.
Wow.
And they're practicing their training.
Okay.
So it's week by week, and you would get a video for each week so you see the process.
Okay.
So when you're trying to practice and apply the training yourself, you have a very good understanding. Okay. You're not going to pick your dog up and then pick up from week 4. You're starting at week 1.
Right.
But you have the process right there in front of you. So when you're ready, let's say you practice for 3 weeks, you're like, okay, I'm good with week 1. Now I watch week 2. Okay. He's not going to lose anything. Okay. The dogs don't forget the training. It might get a little sloppy because he's not practicing for a little bit, but he's not going to lose it completely.
Okay.
So the moment you start practicing it, it's going to start kicking in. Okay.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, it's all on my website, but I believe for the 1 week board and train, it's the 2 to 3-ish hour video, and then a 1 hour follow-up. Okay, so a lot of clients will, like I actually have a follow-up after you from a board and train. They'll do the 1 week, they'll pick up the dog, they'll do about 2 to 3 weeks of practice, and then they'll come back to do the follow-up.
Okay.
To close the gap on anything that they didn't get from the video.
Yep.
Okay, or like it didn't translate correctly.
Yep.
If you do a 2 week, it's 2 videos and then 3 hours of follow-up. 3 week is 3 videos and then 5 hours of follow-up, and then a 4 week would be 4 videos and then 5 hours of follow-up.
Okay.
1, 3, 5, 7. Because you get the first week is just the 1, and then for each week we have the dog after you get 2 more.
Okay.
Okay, but it's on the website.
Okay.
So I would double check with whomever you're going to do a board and train with. Okay. See what the follow-up is.
Yeah.
You would be surprised how many times I've come across where people have done a 4-week board and train and they get a 30-minute follow-up and they don't even cover the training.
Okay.
They just cover the tool.
Okay.
Okay. And then the owner leaves and they go, how do I use this?
Yeah.
Okay. As far as I know, we're one of the only facilities that do provide here's your dog's training video. And it's not like what's the word? Like a cookie cutter. Like here's a video of some dog that we trained like many years ago, right? It's your dog.
Trying to eat the.
Yes.
Yes. He'll eat anything.
And his long body doesn't help.
He's just bored, I think.
Yeah. So that's all frustration right there. It's your dog in the video being trained.
Yeah.
Okay, because everybody's dog
Totally.
is different. Okay.
Good boy.
Question on any of that?
I do have questions. So this board, the reason I'm hoping to do the board and train starting like September 6th or 7th.
Sure.
Do you have availability that soon?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be gone for a little over 2 weeks, and so that's why I was like, let's just get this done.
For sure.
If I don't do it, would I still be able to do daycare with y'all?
Yeah. So he's welcome to do daycare and stuff. It's just if he needed to board.
Yeah. I don't love my daycare place, basically.
No, I understand.
So I'm kind of looking for a new place, and I'd like a new place that kind of, obviously it's just daycare. They don't like work with this stuff.
Sure.
But I feel like if your people kind of know more about this and everything, it might be a better place.
We have a lot of dogs that have been booted from other daycares
Yeah.
that do great with us, and they haven't trained with us. Okay, so training is not a requirement to use our services, like our daycare services. It's only required if you want to do boarding and to forego the daycare.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So if you're like, no, he's going to go to daycare every week for sure, or whatever, then it's like, sure, whatever. We don't need to train him.
Yeah.
Whatever, he can come, and we won't have an issue. I already know we won't have an issue with them.
Oh wow.
Trust me, I get dogs way worse than this guy, and they do completely fine with us.
I was so shocked. Like, they act like he's such like a naughty guy, and they're like, oh, solo plated. I'm like, really? There's nothing we can do about it?
It's because they don't understand how to work with dogs.
Yeah.
They most likely also don't correct dogs. We do correct them, because if we don't, they correct each other, and that's why there's dog fights.
Yep.
Right? Because one dog goes, who are you to correct me?
Yep.
Then they get in a fight, and then all the dogs jump in the fight. You know, I was doing a puppy consultation with a client that's doing the puppy Head Start thing, whatever. And I said that, and then they looked at each other like, yeah, that happened at the dog park the other day, where a dog went after another dog, and then all the dogs ran. I go, yep. I was like, so that's why we have to really regulate things. And we've been open for 4 to 5 years as a brick and mortar. I think we've only had 1, maybe 2, like fights.
Wow.
Okay. And both times were because the employee was an employee that didn't like the structure. They didn't like, oh, I have to correct the dog. You know, they felt bad about it. I'm like, well, because you felt bad about it,
look what happened.
Now this dog has to go to the vet or whatever, because we have to take care of this. This is on us, right? Otherwise, they're completely fine. Okay. So everything that we do is what dogs do to each other instinctively. Okay. And that's why my kennel is quiet. Dogs come to us and they don't leave as stressed, because they're like, it's a structured environment, whereas most kennels is constant barking. They're in a room all day where it's either constant stimulation or they're just isolated, right?
Yep.
I get a lot of clients that they pick up their dog one day like earlier, and they're like, oh yeah, let's go grab your dog, and they see the dog just isolated, and they're like, what's my dog just doing by them? I thought they were playing. They're like, oh, your dog doesn't do well and play. Like, well, nobody told us. If you told us, we wouldn't bring the dog here, because we thought they were getting interaction.
Yeah.
It's super common.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but this guy, easy case. You could either do in-person or board and train.
Cool.
If you do a board and train, you won't need to do an in-person. Okay?
Yeah.
A lot of people go, well, can I do the board and train and then pay for in-person too? I'm like, you get follow-ups with the board and train.
Yeah.
And the videos provide so much value that a lot of times the clients don't even use up all their follow-ups.
Okay.
Okay. And they sit there. So I tell them they don't expire. So if anything ever comes up in the future, you're like, I didn't see this coming. Then you call me up and go, sure, we'll address it. Like, no big deal. Okay. Other questions?
No, so I met with the other person. I really liked her too, but I didn't put the deposit in because I was waiting to see how today went. Now I'm like, oh, well, you're great. And she's really far away. She's not in the city.
Gotcha.
So I feel like this would be one-stop shop. Can you tell me again where you guys are located?
So we're by Sacramento Lake. So our address is 2926 West Lake Street.
And when do your daycare hours start?
So we do 7 to 7 Monday through Friday.
Okay.
8 to 6 on the weekends.
Okay.
We do have early drop-off, which is as early as 6:30.
Awesome.
Okay. However,
you have to pay for it.
You have to pay for it, or we have what we call our pack membership, right? Where it's like $89 a month. You get an add-on service, which can be a training session. It can be not with me, but like a simple one with one of my staff, or an add-on walk, whatever. You get a discount off our retail. You get early drop-off with no fee. There's more perks too, and we can send you the information as well.
Yeah, definitely.
When you look at how much you pay per month and then what you get in return, like, you're getting more.
A lot.
Especially if you do early drop-off all the time. So we have
I only need to do it twice a month.
Oh, I see.
But like twice a month, I need 6:45, and some places just aren't open that early, you know?
Yeah.
So it's nice that there's at least an option.
Yes. So we have a client that comes from like West Chicago, whatever, and she was always there 7 o'clock, and she would like blaze away, right? Because I guess she had to get to work, whatever. But and then she got now she's like every day 6:30 every day.
That's awesome.
And it just takes off a lot of pressure because she's not having to worry about getting to work on time.
Yeah.
So because a lot of clients were asking for it.
Yeah.
But from 6 to 7, we're there, but we're taking out the dogs, we're feeding them, all that stuff, getting them ready.
Yeah.
So if someone leaves to go take a dog, like it does slow things down.
Totally.
So it was a balance. It was a nice kind of balance of
in case the people who need it, they pay for it.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Okay. And then if you do like a 6-month or a longer membership, it's even cheaper in terms of what it is per month. By one off, like if you're doing month by month, it's $89. Okay. I know that off the top of my head. Anything else?
No, I'm so happy. I feel like this has been really great. I'm really interested in going forward with you all.
Yeah.
How do I find out if you have availability for the dates that I'm looking for?
Because I'm the one that does the board and trains, and I know. We only take as many as 4 at a time, because
Okay.
I want to make sure that our quality is not compromised because I have too many dogs on my to-do list.
Totally.
Because I do these consults.
Yep.
I do my follow-ups. I do my in-persons. I do the training for the board and trains. I also work. I'm the owner, so I'll do other work.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm fairly busy, but I know for board and trains in September we have availability.
Okay, awesome. Because I'd want to drop them off on like the 6th or the 7th.
That shouldn't be a problem.
And then I get back, like, I think I'll be gone for like a total of like 15 or 16 days or something. So we could either do the 2 week and a few boarding days, or a 3 week, whatever you think.
No,
you know.
the 2 should be fine.
Okay.
And then we would just, whatever's left over would become boarding nights.
Okay.
So that you know our rates for boarding, they recently just went up.
Okay.
From 60 to 80.
Okay.
And then for daycare, it went from 40 to 50, but we do bundles which drops the price.
Drops the
down.
price.
Yes.
And how much would a 2 week board and train be? Do you know?
Off the top, I believe that is $27.50.
Okay.
Okay. The first week is always the most expensive, and each week is easier
Okay.
if they're done consecutively.
I mean, that's very comparable to what I've seen elsewhere. So
Okay.
that's good.
And if you look at what you're getting in return with that, like it's usually more value than, like I said, like I've had clients do 4-week boarding trains and only get 1 30-minute session. I'm like, that's impossible. You're not learning what your dog is learning 4 weeks and 30 minutes. So always do your research on that, because a lot of people do get blindsided by that.
Yeah.
And then they end up paying for more training in the future, and I'm usually the guy that's doing it. Okay. Other questions?
I don't think so. I guess how do I set all this up? I should just call the front desk?
Tina.
Okay.
Tina.
Yeah, I talked to her.
Will either book it herself, because Tina's my mom.
Oh.
She works from home in Texas.
Okay.
And Maria, who's my aunt, does my facility stuff.
Okay.
But right now, the facility's fairly busy, so my mom would have more time to book it. But she'll reach out. I'll tell her that I recommended 2 week or whatever.
Okay.
And that the training collar that I'd recommend for him runs around $350-ish with tax.
Okay.
They last for years.
Okay.
Okay. My first e-collar lasted me 10 years about before
Leave
I
it.
finally had to replace. I'll go back to you. Before I had to replace it with a new one. So as long as you're taking care of it, they do last a very long time.
Okay.
They're a fully waterproof system, both the transmitter and the receiver.
Okay.
So you can go swimming in it. You can be out in the rain. Nothing's going to happen. What could happen is if you don't close the charging tab, and water gets in, it can misfire, meaning it'll send a signal to stimulate without you pressing the button. Okay. You take it off, you put it to dry. The next day, it's back to normal. Okay. The most common thing that we do see is that the battery does give over time, because it's a rechargeable lithium battery, but you can purchase and replace that yourself, or we can also do it for you. It's like $20 to $25 if you do it yourself for the cost of the battery. If we do it, it's $35.
Just looking forward, will he definitely need probably an e-collar the rest of his life? Or is it possible
It's a good question. I tell people, when you need it, you have it.
Yeah.
Right? So let's say you're here. Your dog is doing great. But then something like that happens, where a random off-leash dog comes, and maybe that dog is uncontrollable.
Yeah.
In that moment, that actually happened to my client exactly here. She lives like a few blocks away. She was playing fetch with her dog, and her dog is social. And this guy let his lab off leash for whatever reason, and they both went for the ball at the same time, and they got into a dog fight. Okay? She had her collar, so she maxed it out. She hit the button. Her dog yipped, which sucked, but pulled out of the fight and ran straight to her, which allowed the guy to grab his dog, right? So in that moment, her dog wasn't doing anything bad. They were minding their own business, but the environment, right?
And she could get him out.
Yeah, so look at it as it's there just in case life throws you a lemon. If you're following the instructions and everything as I've instructed, the application is minimal. Okay, I can always tell when a client is not practicing or doing their homework, because they'll say like, oh yeah, on the walk I use it like 10 times. I go, no, you should be at 0. If you're using it 10 times, that tells me you're probably too low. Okay, that's one thing that people do struggle with. Because let's say I train this dog, right?
Leave it.
I find Tobias is at 100, right? He's not yipping, he's not yelping.
He's fine with it.
Right, he's fine with it. But the human goes, he's at 100 out of 127.
Yeah.
Guilt.
Yeah,
you see
totally.
That? So again, I'm a dog trainer. I've done this for 15 years. I look at the dog and I go, he's not being hurt. That's just what he needs. But the human, the owner, a lot of times, the rationale, they're like, wow, I'm 4/5 of the power. It's gotta suck. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be nice to my dog.
Yeah.
And they drop it. And then they come back and they go, my dog's not listening. I go, because your dog is 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's how that works. Trust me, I've done this for so long. I know exactly what people do and how they think.
Totally.
Right? So that's the one thing. But it's literally like my dogs. If I know they're going to be off leash, they're 15 now. They've been off leash trained for like 12 to 13 years. If I know they're going to be off leash, they have the collars on. But I'm not touching the button. It's there just in case somebody, or like a fireworks. It happens where the random firework in October, you're not thinking someone's going to blow up a firework. Your dog gets spooked. Now he's running away because of the firework. I've had a lot of clients be able to return their dog because of the remote collar in those moments, really. So it's a fail-safe. If he's a great dog inside the house, you don't need it. Right?
Yeah.
If you go to a friend's house and he's a great dog, you don't need it. If you go on a walk, you have it just in case, right? He's going to be off leash, you have it just in case. If your friend is bringing over their dog and you know they play really rough and you want to be able to dial him down, then maybe you need it. Okay. Do you drive?
Yeah.
You go to the expressway?
Yeah.
Do you go to the speed limit?
No.
There you go. Okay. So that's called opportunistic behavior. Okay. If you can get away with something, knowing that there's consequence, you may push that boundary.
Sure.
It's the same thing for the dog. So I like to refer to the collar as a cop on a collar. When it's present, he's going to behave better because he knows sort of consequences
There's
available.
a chance.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you're if you're following through. So imagine if cops were stricter. Imagine if there was more of a police presence.
Yep.
People running red lights, people running stop signs, people speeding would be far less because there's so much of a presence.
Yep.
Right? Is that starting to click?
Totally.
So it's the same thing with training.
Totally.
People, it's that myth of like the dog learns to be a good dog. That's not a thing, okay? That's just a thing that people like to think happens. Dogs never one day wake up and go, you know what, Mom? You made quite an investment into that training and my education. I'm gonna be a good dog now. That's not a thing. Okay. Other questions?
I don't think so. You've been great.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So if you have anything else you may have forgotten to ask, you can talk to Tina. Otherwise, she'll reach out to you. If you want to expedite the process, just make sure you get on our calendar.
Okay.
You can reach out to her and say, hey, Tina, 2-week board and train, sign me up, send me what I need to have. So it'd be a contract. We'll need a clear fecal, of course. Is the update on his vaccinations?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's updated. And we just put in a fecal sample. Like, he'll have a new one like on Monday.
Beautiful.
So we're good.
Yeah. So that'll all be clear. So we have that for our records. We'll have you most likely create a Ginger profile, which is our kennel management system or whatever.
Okay.
And you can add in his notes and all that stuff.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, but even if we don't do the board and train, I'm just really excited that you guys are another option since I'm dissatisfied with my daycare. So I'm so glad that we did this today.
No, for sure.
It's really nice to meet you.
No. Likewise. If you have anything else, you let us know. Otherwise,
Awesome.
I'm going to go on and work with my next client.
Awesome.
Okay? And
Have
I'll grab your
fun.
mic before you go.
Grab what?
Your mic.
Oh, of course.
You wouldn't be the first person.
No, for sure.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Much.
Ham? How you doing?